right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. A meeting of Planning and Economic Development Committee was held today, Tuesday, August 20th, 2024, at 7 p.m. in the Automatic Chamber, and duly noticed in 2 places, including the city's website, in accordance with the requirements of RSA 91A-2, Section 2. Let's just say RSA 91A-2. All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Tyler GOV. Here. Alderman Ernest Jetty. Alderman Derek Tebow is here. Alderman at Large Ben Clemens. And Alderman at Large Melbourne Moran Jr. Chairman.
I am here, and for the record, Alderman Clemens and Jetty notified me that they would be unable to make it tonight. All right. So anyone from the public, I know you guys are going to do a presentation, so you don't have to speak at this if you don't want to, but anyone from the public here to comment on items being acted on tonight? Seeing none. Right, communications?
There is none.
Petitions?
There is none.
Unfinished business?
None.
New business resolutions?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend for final passage R-24-079, approving the Mohawk Tannery redevelopment plan to permit the initiation of a redevelopment project in accordance with RSA 205.
Right, that motion is in order. Would you gentlemen like to come up and grab a seat and you can present on?
Or sit down.
Yo, you guys can have a seat up here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't see Tim here, so I don't know if we should share the presentation or on Zoom. Like, I don't know if we should share or just do the presentation.
Because if you just share it this way, the people on closed caption will see it.
Yeah, let's do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is, ready to start, yeah?
I think so. This one? All right, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Bernard Plant. I'm founder of Blaylock Holdings. I'm here with Brad Westgate, our the counsel to Blaylock Holdings. I am a lifelong, happy to say, a lifelong Nashua resident. Back in 2017, recognizing that the Broad Street Parkway may become a reality, I entered into purchase agreements with the owners of the former Mohawk Tannery property and the Fimble Door property, expecting that if the parkway were built, that would provide access to those properties and perhaps offer an opportunity to remediate the sites and redevelop them. Access through Fairmont Street was a no-go. The neighborhood would not put up with the high traffic count that would be required because the amount of development that would be mandated in order to support the remediation of the site. So tonight's resolution R-24-079, if approved by the full board, recommended by this board and approved by the full board, will allow the National Housing and Redevelopment Authority to proceed ahead. We've been working, by the way, with the National Housing and Redevelopment Board for better than a year on this now. They're providing an element of the $20 million capital stack that is required to remediate the site. They've been very cooperative, but under this state statute, there's the basis of R-24-079, for the National Housing and Redevelopment Authority to proceed, a redevelopment plan must be approved by this board. With that approval, they can go ahead with their loan documentation in conjunction with the New Hampshire Business Finance Authority. They're working cooperatively together to provide about 20% of the capital stack required for the development. If you'd like, I know that you fellows have seen this presentation before. I'm glad to take you through it real quickly, just by way of review.
Sure, we can definitely do that. Now, do you guys have the clicker?
He does.
Yeah. Okay.
I do, yes.
The clerk was way ahead of me on this one here. So.
This is an artist rendering of the 516 proposed housing units on the former Fimbledore, Mohawk Tannery, and City of Nashua property. And what we're looking at on the left-hand side is the Veterans Memorial Parkway. At the bottom of the photo, behind the lettering, is the Nashua River. We have about 2,000 feet of Nashua River frontage. The very right side of the screen is a wooded area. It's about 10 acres that will be dedicated will be deeded to the City of Nashua as open space when we are complete. And then at the upper part of the photo is the Fairmont Heights neighborhood, kind of in the center of the photo, and to the right is the Little Florida neighborhood. Switch to the next. Here's another photo of the site on the top, rendered out with a bridge, as you can see. This rendering is taken from Mine Falls Park, looking across the Nashua River toward our site. And you'll see in the center of the photo a bridge that crosses the Nashua River. Our intention is to construct that bridge, which will allow access for our residents and the residents of Little Florida, Fairmont Heights, and actually residents on the other side of Broad Street who care to walk down through the site to access Mine Falls Park. On the bottom right is the original Mohawk Tannery production building, which is long gone at this point. A couple more renderings at the top. We've got 4 5-story buildings that contain both apartments and condominiums. The river in the center of the photo, and if you look closely along the river, you'll see a river walk that is between the buildings and the river, and then a green space between the river and the buildings. That green space, under that green space, will be a containment cell that will house all the approximately 90,000 cubic yards of environmental waste generated by Mohawk Tannery's operations and deposited on the site when the Broad Street Parkway was developed, that is asbestos-containing material. The lower photo circles 4 buildings on the left in yellow. Those are the 230 rental apartments closest to the Veterans Memorial Parkway. Of the 230 units, 20% of them will be made available for moderate income residents. On the right, the 5 buildings, that is 316 units of condominium, for sale condominium product, underground parking, and then the green space that I discussed previously between it and the river. Here's an old photo of, probably taken in the 60s perhaps, this is the upper photo. That long rectangular building on the left was the Fimbledore manufacturing facility, and to the right, the Mohawk Tannery building, kind of in the center of the photo. Closest to the river are 2 white circular areas, rectangular kind of circular areas. That is where the Mohawk Tannery operators deposited all the tannery waste in 2 lagoons that they dug out. They're approximately 30 feet deep, and they're full of tannery sludge at this point. That's the biggest issue that affects the site. It potentially affects the Nashua River, affects wildlife and human life as well, or anybody that may get into those lagoons. The plan, by the way, is to encircle those 2 lagoons with what is called the sea camp pile system. It's a concrete wall that will surround it, and I'll show you the looks of that wall a little bit further in the slide presentation. In addition to the approximately 60,000 cubic yards of tannery waste that exist in the 2 lagoons, scattered throughout the site, and on the Fimble site is approximately another 20,000 yards of tannery waste. All of that will be consolidated in the lagoons. As I said, they'll be encircled with concrete. They'll be capped with a permanent cap, and that will allow for an impermeable cap, by the way. and that will allow for long-term use of the area above the containment as green space as shown in the lower photo. Let me go back one. Here's another photo along the river. That concrete wall you see will be constructed upon, the secant piles, which are fully underground. The reason that 6-foot wall is being constructed is we have more waste on the site than can be put in the lagoon. So we've had to effectively raise the lagoon area to accept this additional waste. And you'll see on top of that is a safety fence. In between the retaining wall and the river is the river walk that we'll construct all through that area, which is open to the public and our residents, of course. Pardon me, the lower photo is another shot of the same area and shows a kayak launch on the lower left-hand side of the photo. Here's another shot of the pedestrian bridge taken from the Mohawk side of the river heading over toward Mine Falls Park in the upper right-hand corner. Whoop. This really is the redevelopment plan, the bottom colored plan. And as I said, there are 4 rental apartment buildings closest to the Veterans Memorial Parkway, the 5 condo buildings to the back, to the rear of the site, the green space between the buildings and the Nashua River. The area for which the redevelopment plan we're discussing tonight encompasses is that colorful plan. The magenta color is the former Mohawk Tannery site. The yellow is the Fimple Door site. The blue is the City of Nashua site, which is about 4.5 acres. We've entered into an agreement, went through a bid process, entered into an agreement with the City of Nashua to acquire that. And the orange piece to the right is owned by the Tamposi family, will be consolidated into the overall site. The National Telegraph article talks about the EPA filing suit against Chester Realty Trust, the owner of Mohawk Tannery, back in probably Mohawk Tannery closed in 1984, so it's been closed about 40 years. They brought suit against against the Mohawk Tannery owner, entered into a settlement agreement. He really didn't process that settlement agreement honestly, and EPA and New Hampshire DES had to step in to manage the site, and they have done for a while. I mentioned earlier waste material being scattered throughout the site, and that's what you see. In the upper photo, the yellow mustard color area is asbestos that existed on the site prior to the Broad Street Parkway being built. But as the Broad Street Parkway, as asbestos material was encountered during the construction of the Broad Street Parkway, it was deposited legally on the City of Nashua-owned property. We're going to remove that, and all the orange is tannery waste, which will all be consolidated into the large tannery waste at the bottom of the photo. Once again, another photo of the green space above the containment area. The bottom right photo shows us what secant piles look like. Now, in this case, they drilled those secant piles, they poured the concrete, then they excavated the center of the secant pile system out. We will not be excavating. Our piles will go down into the ground. It will contain the tannery sludge, never to be excavated, and then capped with that impermeable cap, as I said. Here's a photo, a streetscape look at the condominium buildings. As you can see, we got 5 stories with parking under, a lot of greenscape area along the roadways, parallel parking, an attractive look for a somewhat urban project. I think that covers the slides.
Just a quick question. For the criteria 3, there's no one being disrupted.
There is no one being disrupted. There have been in the past some homeless people, and we've worked with them and city agencies to have them helped out, but as of late, there have been no homeless on the site.
I'm sure Director Beckley will find a parking lot somewhere for them.
Right.
That was facetious and a joke from what they did in Ward 6. I need to clarify that was a joke, but I'm sure that they'll learn from their lessons.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'll just check with my counselor here, make sure that we covered everything that we,
I think so. As the chair noted, the 3 criteria under the statute for the full board to make a finding of to approve the development plan are set forth in the proposed resolution 24-079. And we think the underlying circumstances that have been explained do support them. The National Housing and Redevelopment Authority did a similar finding, because it's actually, they had to adopt a resolution to the effect that they would recommend to the full Board of Aldermen that this plan be undertaken and approved. To do so, they had to make those same findings, which they did. And just to reiterate, those are indicate that the plan has a relationship to definitive local objectives as to appropriate land uses and improved traffic, public transportation, utilities, recreation, community facilities, and other public improvements. So I think, as Bernie's described, the project does do that. There are very clear appropriate land use objectives with the remediation and redevelopment of this site. The second one is that the proposed land uses and development requirements in the area are appropriate, make sense, and adequate for what's being contemplated. And as the chair noted, the third is provisions for relocation of any persons, and that, of course, isn't the case. So it's not knocking down an existing facility and then redeveloping it.
All right. Any questions from the committee members? All right. Well, thank you both.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, Director Cummings, you joined?
Yes, I apologize. I had some technical difficulties.
Oh, no. You should have let me know. I would have helped you.
I just wanted to be on record asking the committee to favorably recommend this piece of legislation. It's necessary due to the type of financing that we are pursuing. We're doing it under RSA 205, and it will behoove us to do it in this direction, as we will be limiting the city's exposure to relative to repayment of a potential bond to be just the pledge of the incremental taxes on the property, as opposed to a general obligation bond. So again, I'd ask for your favorable recommendation of this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Director. And just for that criteria 3, to your understanding, no one that is homeless in that area will be moved to an empty parking lot. They'll be assisted and treated with respect, et cetera.
I heard that comment a few moments ago. I'll note that you were just joking, and of course the city would do everything we could to assist them appropriately and would not move them to a parking lot.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate all. This is a very intense project that you guys have undertaken, and the details and the uniqueness of finding funding and resources and making this happen in a very difficult site to build on is very impressive. And all the presentations you put forth and have been very detailed, and there's been no sense for me that you haven't dotted your I's and crossed your T's. So I do appreciate that very much.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Alderman Govea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To go off of what you just said, I think you summed it up perfectly. This is kind of a prime example of how projects should go. This, from day one, has been clearly laid out. There's been multiple presentations on what's going to be done, when it's going to be done, how it's going to be done. I just want to commend you guys for bringing forward an excellent project and having the transparency to bring it to the whole community and just have that extra transparency layer. It's been fantastic and look forward to seeing the final product. Thank you.
I mean, even the language you use regarding the units that are 80%, I think, of the,
20% moderate, yes.
yes, you used the term moderate.
Right.
I mean, that is like exactly the term to use where others might come in and say low income.
Right.
Because that's not, it's
Right.
moderate. I mean,
That's
you
right.
guys are using the right language and everything. Like, that's why it's been such a joy to hear the details in this plan. All right. All no comments?
No,
All
I'm
right.
good, I'm good.
All right, no other comments, then if you can call the roll.
Alderman Govea,
Yes.
Alderman Moran,
Yes.
and Alderman Tebow votes yes, so 3-0, it passes on.
It passes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care. We'll see you on the next
Oh,
piece.
yes. We'll see you from time to time, I'm sure.
I'm off the way at the Alderman meeting. Thank you.
New business ordinances.
There is none.
Table in committee.
There is none.
General discussion. Any period for public comment? Anyone else popped in and want to speak? Seeing none. Remarks by Alderman? None. Alderman Govea.
I move to adjourn.
That's in order. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and we are adjourned at 7:21 PM.